The New York Knicks need to go all in on OG Anunoby, and here's why. So far this season, it seems like the Knicks are two separate teams. On one hand, they're playing phenomenal, they're playing great team basketball, their main three guys are playing at a very high level in Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, and RJ Barrett. Everything's just clicking on all levels, and they look like a team that's very difficult to beat. But on the other hand, there's certain stretches of games where the Knicks just look terrible, both offensively as well as defensively, and they just look like a completely different team on stretch to stretch. And in my opinion, there's a bunch of different things wrong with this Knicks team, but one of the bigger issues that they do have is they don't have a true wing. So that's why when there were some reports coming out that OG Anunoby could potentially be available, the Knicks have been in contact with the Raptors. And in my opinion, I think the Knicks need to make this trade. But quickly, before we get the video started, for those of you who may not know, I'm Juicy Sports, I make opinionative NBA content, and if you guys enjoy videos similar to this, hit that subscribe button, that like button, and that post notification bell. I also want to quickly mention that I recently started up an MMA channel, and if you guys are interested in that, the link will be in the description. But anyways, let's get into it. At this point, it's around halfway through the season, and I feel like we have a decent understanding of who the Knicks are. They're a decent team who, in my opinion, should make the playoffs, but they're a very streaky team as well. They have some stretches where they're great, they have some stretches where they're terrible. But at the end of the day, I do think they have talent on the roster. Guys like Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, and Jalen Brunson are all pretty talented players, but they also have some other nice complementary young guys like Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickley, Mitchell Robinson, etc. And a team that has a similar build to this just screams a 7th or 8th seed in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion, and I think that's basically where the Knicks are going to fall at the end of the year. Now, if they make some trades, maybe things can change, but at this point, based on how they're currently constructed, that's my current expectations for them. And there's certainly nothing wrong with starting off as a team like this, being a 7th or 8th seed in the East, but you would like to see improvement and progression as the years do progress. So the fact that the Knicks were the 4th seed a couple years back and completely were terrible last year was certainly a huge disappointment. Now, it is nice to see that the Knicks are a lot more competitive this season than they were last, but you would like to see more improvement. So that's why during the trade deadline, I do think the Knicks should look to make some different moves. And the move that I think would make the most sense for the New York Knicks is getting OG Anunoby. Now, adding OG Anunoby to this Knicks roster wouldn't instantly turn them into a championship contender, obviously, but what it would do is it will fill a lot of holes that the Knicks have. Now, I did mention that the Knicks do need a wing. Now, obviously they have RJ Barrett and Quentin Grimes, who are both very good wings, but RJ Barrett is more so of a shooting guard, and Quentin Grimes, in my opinion, is a very nice supplementary guy, but I don't necessarily know if he's going to be that all-star guy, at least at this point. So I do think the Knicks should go out and look for a guy that's a little bit better at creating his own shot like OG Anunoby is. At this point, OG has done a great job over the years at consistently improving his game season after season, and at this point, I would say he's a very good scorer. Now, obviously, he's been a great defender throughout his entire career, but offensively, that's really been something that he's been working on season after season. And at this point, I would say he's a pretty versatile offensive player. He's a guy that can play with the ball or play without the ball. From that three-point range, he does a really nice job at spreading the court out effectively, hitting that catch-and-shoot three-point jump shot, but also he has a really nice ability to create for himself from there as well, with a crossover, sidestep, or step back from that three-point area. Now, in terms of his mid-range game, I would say this is a really good aspect of his game as well. He has a very, very nice one-dribble pull-up, a very, very nice post-turnaround fadeaway, of course has all the same abilities that he does from that three-point range in terms of catch and shoot, sidestep, and step back mid-range jump shots. And once OG drives all the way to the basket, he's very, very good as well. OG is actually deceptively athletic, so he certainly has the ability to posterize players at times, but mostly what he does once driving all the way to the basket is finishing around players or finishing through players. He has a very nice base and very good strength to finish through contact and get N1 finishes, but he also is very crafty out there to finish around guys as well. And I would say OG has a really good ability to score from all three levels. He's just an extremely talented offensive player. That wasn't something that he came into the NBA with, but that's really something that he worked on over the years until he was eventually able to get to the point where he's at today. And when you're looking at a player like that consistently worked on his game season after season and really earned the spot that he has currently, that tells you that most likely he's going to improve further as the seasons do progress. And that's something I fully expect from OG. But now, the question is, why do I think it makes sense for the Knicks specifically to trade for OG Anunoby? Well, obviously the first reason is his talent level. I just touched upon how good I think think he is, but whenever you're able to bring more talent into your organization, it's always a good thing. And I definitely think OG is that kind of player that you want to bring into your organization, because not only is he very talented, but he's also relatively young and has a great work ethic, so you fully would expect him to continuously improve. But the next reason for why I think the Knicks should go out there and trade for OG Anunoby is due to fit. So I touched upon this a little bit before, so I won't harp on it too much, but basically I think the Knicks need that wing, and OG Anunoby is exactly that guy. He's the kind of guy that could defend the opposing team's best player night after night and do a great job on him, giving rest to guys like Quentin Grimes and RJ Barrett, but also offensively he has the ability to play off ball and let other guys work while also still being effective, but also has a nice ability to create for himself as well. OG is that kind of player that would fit in nicely with basically every team in the NBA, but the fact that the Knicks desperately need that extra wing on the roster makes it that much better of a fit. So I definitely think that ability that OG provides is exactly what the Knicks need on this roster. But the last reason for why I think the Knicks should go out there and trade for OG Anunoby is experience. Now OG's relatively young, but he does have championship experience, and that championship experience is very important. Players who win a championship understand and see what other guys on their team were able to do and were able to work for in order to get to that point. So having that understanding of what it takes to win an NBA championship certainly provides a ton for the rest of your team. And the fact that OG already has that is extremely important for the rest of the guys on the Knicks, and he could certainly teach them a thing or two on work ethic and what it truly takes to make it to the promised land. But now, although I think it makes a ton of sense for the Knicks to trade for OG, it's not going to come cheap. There have been some reports saying that a mystery team offered 3 first-round picks for OG Anunoby, and it also came out that that mystery team is the New York Knicks, or most likely is the New York Knicks. But when you take a deeper dive into that potential trade, it would most likely be protected picks. So maybe you would give up 1 unprotected first, maybe, but you would certainly give up 2 or maybe even all 3 protected first-round picks for OG. And I definitely think from the Knicks perspective, that's something that makes a ton of sense. They have a ton of draft picks at this point, and putting some protections on some of the picks they already have and just moving those off for a very talented and a very young player that would seemingly stay with your organization for the long term certainly makes a ton of sense. And if you have to throw in another player or 2 on top of that, I definitely would do it, and I think it makes a ton of sense. So although the price might sound steep for a player who hasn't even made the All-Star team yet, I do still think it makes a ton of sense, because you're more so playing for the upside alongside with what OG has been showing so far. And I think there are a bunch of other teams where that kind of trade offer wouldn't make sense, but for the Knicks specifically, I do think it makes a ton of sense. And if I were in their position and I would have the ability to get OG Anunoby for that trade offer, or even less obviously, but for that trade offer as well, I certainly would take it. But I know the Knicks are also looking at some other guys like Saddiq Bey and a couple of other players, so we'll see what happens as time progresses and as the trade deadline gets closer and closer. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think the New York Knicks should trade for OG Anunoby, or do you not think so? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy it, check one of these 2 videos popping up now, and until the next time, peace out guys.